Wow, I think it's safe to say Toyota has been on an absolute tear of late. Over the past 2 years or so, they've unleashed a new Tundra, a new Land Cruiser, and a new Tacoma. Oh yeah, there's the Sequoia too, but that one doesn't have the same cool factor as the rest of the pack. And now this, the 2025 Toyota 4Runner. Now, Toyota is known for stretching out vehicle generations far beyond the typical auto industry length. The Tundra floundered in drab second-gen skin for 15 years before exploding onto the scene 2 years ago in sharp new duds. The Land Cruiser, well, that's a whole story unto itself, and one you can learn about in one of our more recent videos. But that particular model wasn't even for sale the last few years, and the bloated preceding generation is best forgotten. The Tacoma, a truck with a strange cult-like following, even with its formerly miserable ride and ancient powertrain, was recently overhauled after a relatively short 8 model years. Which brings us to the 4Runner, which is possibly an even cultier Toyota. But before we dive deeper on discussing how owning a Toyota is like being in a cult, would you kindly click the subscribe button below? Everyone here at The Empty Garage thanks you. Now, about that 2025 Toyota 4Runner. Like the Tundra, this will be the first all-new 4Runner in 15 years. This is an eternity in automotive time, and the 4Runner's platform was truly ancient. That old 4-liter V6 guzzled gas, no thanks to the positively prehistoric 5-speed automatic it was lashed to. Heck, Ford and GM are rolling with 10 speeds up in their trucks these days. Needless to say, it was high time Toyota took the 4Runner back to the drawing board. But before I jump on this bandwagon of bashing how old the 4Runner is, it must be said that Toyota is likely the one laughing at the peanut gallery, such as myself, busy pointing out all these crusty old vehicles being systematically trimmed from their lineup. I mean, they have been selling 4Runners for going on 2 decades with $55,000 price tags, so perhaps I should be highlighting their business acumen. But that's not what we're here for today. We're here to talk about the all-new 6th generation 2025 4Runner, and oh boy is it a good one. You may note the model year of 2025. That's a bit of a bummer as it means the new 4Runner won't be readily available for a while, and we are short on some details. But there is already enough to get excited about, so let's dive in. First, get a load of that sheet metal. Big old square-jawed front end, mean muggin' just like the rest of the new Toyota body-on-frame bruisers. Burly fender flares for muscularity, and rear quarters that pop up past the back doors for some athletic stancing. Daddy-like. How about the rear quarter glass that wraps up into the roofline, just like the OG 4Runners from the 80s? And no Toyota SUV is a real Toyota SUV without the wonders of a tailgate window that goes up and down. The best feature of all time, I would say. All that style comes standard, but if you want to really stand out in the Whole Foods parking lot, pony up for the big swinging Trail Hunter model, particularly in the spectacular new Everest finish. Goes so nice with those bronze rims wrapped in beefy 33-inch all-terrain Toyo tires. Not to mention the blocky Toyota front grille lettering, 20-inch light bar, color-selectable LED fog lamps from Rigid, and an integrated snorkel for when the Whole Foods parking lot is flooded. Just kidding, sort of. For those that will actually partake in genuine overlanding, this all-new Trail Hunter variant is for you. Along with the killer style, it gets special 2.5-inch Old Man Emu forged shocks with remote reservoirs out back. Then there is the increased ride height, ARB roof rack, high-strength steel skid plates, rock rails bolted directly to the frame, and the Max engine as standard equipment. Now about that frame and that Max motor. These two things represent perhaps the most important upgrades to the 2025 4Runner aside from the rugged new style. Unlike so many unibody crossovers posing as adventure-ready SUVs, the latest 4Runner stays true to its off-road ready roots. That means it comes with body-on-frame construction, specifically a frame that comes from the TNGA-F global truck platform that the new Tacoma, Tundra, and Land Cruiser all ride on. So although many buyers of the incoming 4Runner will primarily use it for buying groceries, the truth is it can hang with the big boys off in the woods. Then there is the engine. It's a hybrid. But fear not, fellow fans of power and guzzling gas. Prius impersonator, the 4Runner is not. To drive that point home, this particular engine is known officially as the iForce Max, where Force and Max are all capitalized because that makes it tougher. And it is tough. The foundation is a 2.4-liter inline-4 strapped with a turbocharger. But in max spec, a 48-horse electric motor that is fed by a 1.87 kilowatt-hour battery pack gets integrated with the 8-speed automatic transmission. Altogether, this range-topping setup produces 325 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. That's a lot of juice, and though it will surely best the outgoing 4Runner in fuel efficiency, that wasn't exactly a high bar at 17 pathetic miles per gallon combined. If you don't want to pay up for the max-powered 4Runner, there is also a base option named simply iForce. It's essentially the same setup, but without the hybrid gear, and is good for 278 horses and 317 torques. This is only 8 more horsepower than the old V6, but nearly 40 more pound-feet of twist. And though there are no official figures yet, you can bet this base 2025 4Runner will absolutely smoke the last model in fuel economy ratings. But come on, no one is buying the badass new 4Runner because it's all prim and proper at the pumps. You're buying it for the badassery, so let's review. There's the high-strength boxed steel ladder frame. The solid rear axle is still ready to party, just with an updated multi-link suspension geometry. Double wishbones are mounted up front, and in Trail Hunter guise come with sweet branding. And though I'm all frothed up over the Trail Hunter, the TRD Pro is coming back for 2025. You can think of it as the desert running option versus the rock-crawling overlander that is the Trail Hunter. Nifty TRD Pro bits include a big front skid plate and TRD-tuned Fox QS3 dampers with manually adjustable clicker compression settings. Like the Trail Hunter, you get big old 33-inch rubber on the TRD Pro. This is of note because previously trying to stuff 33s into the 4Runner's wheel wells was not exactly easy. But thanks to a wheelbase that stretches nearly 2.5 inches on the 2025 4Runner, there's more body mount clearance in there. And yes, these all-terrain tires will help while off-roading, but more importantly, they look awesome. One bummer to note is that the kinetic dynamic suspension system has gone bye-bye. This hydraulic system was used to disconnect the front and rear stabilizer bars for maximum off-road flexing. Fortunately, there is a new stabilizer bar disconnect mechanism that is more obviously named than the old KDSS setup, but only cuts the front end loose. Of course, true four-wheel drive with high and low ranges is still available, along with options for locking the rear end center differential. Other off-road highlights include a maximum 32-degree approach angle and a 24-degree departure angle. The roughly 9.2 inches of ground clearance is about the same as before, but with the max hybrid powertrain, the 2025 4Runner can tow a healthy 6,000 pounds. Which is a significant 1,000 pounds more than the old model could handle. Now I know you're all here, all 5 of you, to see how cool the new 4Runner looks and how capable it'll be off-road. But it does have a cabin that's not so bad, and we would be remiss for not discussing it. As before, the 4Runner does offer 3 rows of seats. Also as before, you'd have to be one mean hombre to stuff any adults back there, or really any humans. If you did, however, a new, easier to operate fold and tumble second row seat mechanism lends a helpful hand. The front cabin will be familiar to anyone that's looked over the latest Toyota truck and SUV lineup, which is to say blocky, utilitarian, and simple, all of which is a good thing. Base models come with an 8-inch infotainment screen, but a monster 14-inch unit will also be available. Wireless smartphone mirroring is standard, and the usual roster of electronic driving nannies will be chasing you around with beeps, vibrations, and other assorted nags to keep you in your lane. Toyota notes that Proactive Driving Assist joins the nanny roster to provide, quote, gentle braking and steering to support driving tasks. All I have to say to that is, no thanks. But all I have to say to the fresh-faced 2025 Toyota 4Runner is yes, please. I don't even know how to go off-roading, but I would buy that handsome new Trail Hunter just to figure it out. Or the TRD Pro, or maybe the fancy Platinum, or well, I don't know. But I do know it would have the rear window that goes up and down, which is good enough for me.